Thank you very much.
After 3 seasons without the NFL in Cleveland, call this one a dream come true. It came his way in 1999. Jim was named the radio voice of the Browns. And as he gets ready for his 22nd season, think about this. The Browns have had 10 full-time head coaches, dozens and dozens of starting quarterbacks, but only one voice.
Green stutter step, he's through, first down, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, run, William, run, there goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub!
It's a job Jimmy cherishes and doesn't take lightly for the most loyal fan base in all of sports.
In the booth, when you're with him, he puts his heart and soul into that game. His mannerisms, he's got his hands going this way, his feet going this way. Every play, he's helping them, and you just hope that someday that he gets to do a Super Bowl because he definitely deserves it.
Jim was on top of the world, ready for the next chapter of his life when everything changed.
Since the summer of 2000, I have been dealing with a big problem of having leukemia.
This is when the adventure of his life really began. An anonymous donor gave Jim the most precious gift you can ever receive, his cells. Jim sat in a room at the Seidman Cancer Center for a full month, going through the scary process of a bone marrow transplant. There were bumps in that road, spiking fevers of 105. Yes, the thought of not making it crossed his mind, but Jimmy kept fighting and fighting.
I am back.
On September 11th, 2011, Jimmy made his return to the booth.
Say thank you for all those cards, emails, and letters. Mike Nugent will kick it off.
And with a clean bill of health, he returned to work at Channel 3, where we watch him every night, delivering the sports on what matters most and what's next, and hosting Front Row. Boston may be home, but Cleveland is where his heart is. Jimmy, a gift that arrived in 1985 that we are all able to unwrap every night and, of course, every Sunday afternoon.
The Browns have won it!
And what is up, everybody? Welcome to The Bearded Browns with Angel and Chad and myself. That was an emotional video. I know you guys weren't able to watch that, but it's the voice of the Browns, man. It's something that a lot of people look forward to hearing every week, and he is retired from the game. As you guys can see in the bottom right corner there, we got the F Cancer logo for Jimmy this week. I'm wondering who they're going to have call the games, because there's going to be zero comparison, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would. I don't think you can compare to Jimmy right now. It's going to take a lot of getting used to those that listen on the radio. I am wondering, I don't know if they announced it. I'm going to assume it might be Chris Rose, but I could be wrong on that. But it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Chad, you willing to do some play-by-play?
I wish I could do that. That'd be awesome.
But yeah,
dude, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he did it for that long. I mean, you think about the years that he was the play-by-play guy for the Browns, and it's like, man, he maintained a positivity through the absolute darkest timeline in Cleveland Browns history. And I'm not the type of person to say that nobody will ever be able to do what he did, but man, I'm going to have to see it to believe it, to think somebody's going to step into that role anytime soon and be able to present the Cleveland Browns the way that guy did. He's going to be a legend for a long time for a lot of us.
I agree. The rumor that I heard today was that Joe Thomas said goodbye to Munich, Germany, the Munich Ravens, and was coming back for something. And I'm like, oh man, is he going to come back to be an announcer? That was what we thought might have been one of the big announcements of today. And we found out it was, oh yeah, James Frank just said that.
Yeah, he just saw him post it. Yeah,
it's going to be weird. I hope we don't even take this in a sexist way either, because it is not. But a girl trying to announce a football game is not my thing. That Seattle game was horrendous. I watched the highlights the next day, and I'm like, what? Why? Just why?
Yeah, I mean, there's some females that I could. I mean, she's more or less basketball. I forgot her name. That she's really good. Burke. Um,
Oh,
I
I
don't
know
know.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know too many that have called it. Haven't heard too many that have called a football game, but it would be. I mean, I would be open-minded to it. I'm a dad of 2 girls, so I wouldn't mind hearing it if she knows the game as well as Jim did, of course.
Yeah, good luck. I don't even think it's
Yeah.
just about Jim knowing the game. It's like the energy that Jim
Yeah.
had. It was crazy. I got a couple gals I like in football a lot, but I actually, didn't hear whoever was announcing against Seattle, so I'm not familiar with that. It would sound a little weird to me. That would be kind of unique because that play-by-play is like constant like ongoing conversation, and that would be a little different from what we're used to with sideline reporters. I don't know, is Nathan Zagura like not lined up to like step into that spot immediately or somebody like that?
I'm sure Nathan's going to be there. I'm not sure if he's going to be the main guy. There's nothing that was said today, at least. I listened to the radio and hoping that he specifically, because he's so close, but nothing was said. I'm going to assume something will be said by Friday. I'm going to assume.
He's not my favorite guy, but he knows the team as well as anybody in the country. And given, even if he's not doing it permanently, I feel like he would be somebody that could step in. This is obviously last minute notice. I'm sure like some times he's had in the past, he's tried to like fight through things, and the goal was he can get back for the season, but this time it looks like that's just not going to be a possibility. So thoughts and prayers out to him and his family. It's a big loss for Browns fan. The guy literally, I tell a joking story sort of about a long time ago. I was in this class where they were teaching you kind of like mindful meditation. It was a psychology thing. And they were telling you like, you should just imagine a voice that you're very familiar with that like is very positive to you. And I immediately thought of Jim Donovan. And so I just think it's really funny because this is when I was like a teenager, like a freshman in college. And I immediately was like, I know the obvious voice that can like talk me through literally anything stressful. He's been doing it this whole time. So it's really funny for me to think of like, yeah, he was the voice of positivity in the most negative, like
Era.
possible scenarios. So
dark era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking to see him go. Cleveland has this announcer thing where we got Tom Hamilton as well. That's going to be another hard one to let go when it happens. I know these guys got lives outside of these sports, but man, those are 2 iconic voices to Cleveland, and I wasn't ready for this one.
Yeah.
Man, my wife is cooking beef stew right now, and it smells amazing.
I enjoy beef stew, but you know who doesn't enjoy beef stew? Facebook. You want to know why? Because I tried to change my password, and it said it was not strong enough. Stroganoff.
All right. So everybody,
beef stroganoff. Beef stew, beef stroganoff. Okay.
plan this.
So something big happened today.
Yeah.
Well, it in some ways big. Some people don't think it's big, but it's a good segue into the next topic.
Yes. The Haslam Sports Group today announced that the new stadium now, not the Cleveland Browns Stadium anymore. It is the Huntington Bank Field. And I bank with Huntington, so
Me too.
I'm waiting for them to come out with the new Browns debit card.
Yeah, do that.
Chad, I must ask you a question. We can do this all night.
I don't bang with Huntington, in case anyone was wondering.
Are there Huntingtons out there?
I'd never find a Huntington ATM out in California.
Yeah.
I bank with JP Morgan Chase myself.
Just watched a documentary on him, and that guy was a bad mofo as well.
But Huntington, I'm familiar. I mean, I mean, let's face it, guys. The choices are limited. There's a handful of companies that are run out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
The first, I mean, I obviously think of the Key Bank building being there, Huntington Bank. That power company thing didn't really work out. I kind of thought the next step up was going to be somebody out of Akron, like one of these car
Goodwill.
or tire or
Yeah.
something companies. I thought that seemed like the lock to me. This was kind of actually a surprise, but we looked it up. I think 25% of the stadiums are affiliated with some banking or financial group. So they've got the money to put out there. So
I actually thought it would be Sherwin-Williams because they're building the new offices down there.
Yeah.
And they're like next door practically to the stadium. So I thought for sure I thought it was going to be Sherwin-Williams.
They
That would have
already
been a good one.
are a
But-
sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. That's why I thought it's a shoe-in. Boom, you guys got it.
yeah,
But
that
yeah.
would have made a lot of sense.
Would have.
Yeah, like I said, there's a handful. It's not like Cleveland doesn't have any companies. I think American Greetings is based out of there. There's a handful,
They're in
but
Westlake now.
but it when
Yeah,
it comes to
suburb.
these cities, like the stadium out here was Qualcomm, which is like the biggest like tech company in San Diego. So it's sometimes it just and Petco is the baseball park. Sometimes they're just obvious based on if there's one company that kind of dominates that city, and Cleveland has a handful to choose from, and apparently they made themselves a 20-year deal, so it must have fit pretty well for everybody. You had mentioned the Dogs by Nature article that was going into the city council, giant
Yeah.
shocker, speaking out to say that technically until they approve it, it's not going to be the name. And all I can think of right now, it just seems like city council is so ready to flex on Jimmy and
Yeah.
Haslam. It's like I don't even see that as like it's a technicality. Like I see them being like, well, you got to get through us first, because it seems like they're just ready to like go at it because of this stadium deal. But it is interesting to see them put it's a 20-year deal for the current and future stadium, whichever that might be. We all believe it's going to be the Dome in Brook Park, but
Yeah.
I guess Progressive also just signed with Guardians again, and somebody was complaining today about there was enough Progressive stuff, but now they made room for more Progressive stuff. So get ready to see Huntington Bank State or Field all over the place. It's
the interesting thing about Huntington is I just don't hear a lot about Huntington. Like Progressive is everywhere. Like that's kind of a nationwide brand. It's just a kind of a global brand, and like, yeah, Huntington I feel like is a little bit more local, but it's not that like Pittsburgh's is what PNC Park probably.
Yeah.
One of theirs anyway. Like it's just, I mean that's just the kind of way they work. After that energy shenanigans, like it was, I'm glad they were able to move on to somebody, with ease. But
I'm not against it. I think it's all right. It's the down payment for the new stadium.
nope. And it will give it'll give Angel months of
Puns.
cheesy dad jokes to spit out to everybody.
It would be an
Awful
interesting
puns
one.
for-
Stay tuned for some interesting puns.
You see what he did there, everyone?
Angel, you got a bee flying around you, dude.
Dude,
He's been
I
doing-
don't
by
know.
the way, he's
Yeah,
been
it's
doing this
fun.
all day. He's been texting his money, his financial related puns to us.
I have, man. I listen, as a dad, I enjoy this. My kids are annoyed by it. My wife hates me for it, but it's part of my DNA now. It's like as soon as you have a kid in your hand, you get this overwhelming feel just to be corny and just to do dumb jokes. And that's just my fate in life, man. I accept it.
James said one dad joke per show. So I'm going to get mine out right
See, there it is. People
So
I
love
think he
it.
means total, and we've
Oh.
already used the Stroganoff thing. So I'm so sorry
That's
about
true.
that, Mike. I'm
Sorry.
afraid we've hit our limit.
now. Man,
Thank you,
One-
James, by the way.
I'll
one
get you
joke.
next week.
Yeah.
Shout out to James.
I'll get you guys Saturday for the pregame show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is football week, guys. There's
Yes.
so much football
Oh,
to be happening.
Are you- Are you guys ready for next week to overreact to regardless of what happens? We're going to overreact. You ready for it? Every week is going to be overreaction week. Especially week one, we're
Some
going to
people, for
overreact.
most of the fan base, I
Yeah,
think
we're going to
that is
overreact.
true.
Week one, we're going to overreact. Most of the fans going to be like, If we win, we're the greatest. If we lose, we need to trade everybody.
You will find Chad to be fairly grounded, but
Me
every
too.
once in a while, even I kind of like swing one way or another. I think the majority is like life or death every week, which was terrible if we think back to how many bad weeks we had in like the 2000s to 2010s. Like, how did we even survive? But these days, at least the swing is like, oh, we won, we lost, we won twice in a row, and then we lost, and
Yeah.
everybody loses.
Victory Mondays. That's what we need. We need lots of those.
If not, we'll be here for
double
therapy.
digit.
If
Yeah.
not,
We
we
need
will
double-digit
double.
Victory Mondays.
Yeah. If not, we will be here for therapy Tuesday. So
Yeah.
it works. So it works for
You
us.
know,
Worthless
if I'm being
Wednesdays.
honest, like I try not to let the Browns get me down, but on days that
It-
we lose, I am always appreciative of doing the podcast on a Tuesday because on Monday I
You
do not
just
want to think about it.
that's a good
I'm
idea.
not like even if I'm pretty even, I'm like I don't want to talk about it though. Like I just lived it yesterday. Why the hell would I want to talk about it today? And then
True.
like another day passes and you're like thinking of the next game already, and you're like, okay.
What's
I-
funny though
I'm
is
okay.
if Sunday night right after the game, if they win, you're like, man, let's go live now. No.
There are times like that. No,
Yeah.
we beat the Steelers, and I'm like, yeah, get me online.
Right
The day
now.
seems right, and I've had 7 beers at the game, so I've no business talking to anyone. But
Yeah, for me last year was that San Francisco game. I wanted to go on and just talk trash to everybody.
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was my
my
Super
first.
Bowl.
That was the first podcast I ever did by myself. I have that recorded still. I did want to ask you guys a question. What do you think about the NFL sending 2 green teams where green is a gang color in Brazil to that game out in Brazil? They're not allowed to leave their apartment or their hotels, nothing. They can't do anything. Their families can't come. Their players are telling their families not to come. Like the NFL just set them up for disaster. Like 2 green teams, let's send them.
I don't think the NFL did their homework when they did that. I didn't think
I
anybody.
mean, who's thinking like that? Who's like scheduling
Yeah.
the game is like, well, we better check the local gang colors
Yeah,
before we.
that is
pick our
true. I
team.
mean, that's true.
It'll be a rough world when we start thinking that way. Like, well,
Yeah, I mean, I think someone in the room should have been like, "It's Brazil, man. Is it safe to go down there?" Like,
they should probably have somebody working in Brazil who
yeah,
and that sort of look.
yeah. I don't think they're gonna go back.
A
Just
Brazil
guess.
correspondent. We'll see. You know, this group is trying to go global. They're in Germany, London, Brazil. They're trying to spread this game. They want this game in the Olympics for real one day.
Man.
Full go.
So let's talk some roster and contract stuff here.
Yeah, let's get into the final stuff that was able to be done before we actually started football.
So the 53-man roster got sent out last week, right before our show, and we absolutely found out that Huntley is out and Foreman's in. I think we guessed that pretty much
Yeah.
immediately.
People
after
that
the
were paying
cuts.
attention were onto that.
I'm okay with that. We needed that third running back. Everybody
It's kind
kept
of
on
just a
questioning
shame.
it.
With 2 things are a shame about that. One is that we didn't get anything for Huntley because they only held him because they must have been getting calls and like thinking maybe we can make something happen. The second is that he ended up going back to the Ravens the very next day.
Yeah,
And that's like, well,
Shot in the
but
foot.
I'm glad we got to bring you in here and get you more primed to be a successful quarterback all offseason. And then you get to go play for a division rival team who constantly needs a backup.
That's why I'm kind of hoping they gave him like a dud playbook, maybe. Just here, run these for off-season or preseason.
I'm sure he's not fully like dived into the playbook, but he's the best option for regardless. I mean, I said this on some people on Twitter, like, well, now they have the Browns like plays, and it's like, well, they'll have by the time we play the Ravens, whatever week that is, they'll have, a half a dozen or more weeks of film to watch, and they'll probably have a pretty good breakdown of what the Browns offense is evolving into by then. But those hardballs are prone to sign stealing, so keep your eyes on the sidelines for that game.
yes. Fireball.
Watching you.
We're watching you. Often pick our nose too.
But yeah, it's a bummer.
It is a bummer. I'm not against it, though. I think we're still going to beat the Ravens. At least one of the 2 games this year. At least.
Yeah, I think we would need to in order to stay in the division. We definitely gonna need to beat them one.
I know we have to. Yeah, you got to go 500 in this division
Yeah.
this year, given the schedule you have. So
Considering half my fantasy team is Baltimore Ravens, OSU guys, and the rest is AFC North pretty much. And then I got a couple like NFC East guys. It just happened.
It just happened.
Horrible luck.
It just fell on my luck. I drafted Lamar Jackson.
But yeah,
Darn it.
yeah,
that kept happening to me in our dynasty league. Like it felt like, and there's a handful of Browns fans in it, so I can't help but think this was part of the reason. But we're like rolling through, and guys like Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, like there's just guys on the Ravens that I feel like they always go a handful of picks later than like their ADP, or like when you're to the point where it comes up to you and you're like, yeah, God, you guys let him fall like 5 picks lower than I wanted him to even be available, and now I have to take him because it would be too far off not to, but I hate having to do that. Nothing worse than like Zay Flowers scores a touchdown and you're like, and he's on your fantasy team.
Yeah. So that's the thing here. So I'll tell you really quick. My starting for this week, my starters are Lamar Jackson, Olave, Ridley, Montgomery, Najee Harris, Dalton Schultz, Marvin Harrison Butker, and Baltimore's defense.
I mean, I love some of those guys, but most of it is because they're Ohio State guys. So yeah, I get it.
It was
and also,
the luck of the draw, and I was going
like
to go
this
for
mix of Homer and Hater pick.
like Marvin Harrison, dude. I was like, is the guy going to show up in the NFL or isn't he? What's going to happen?
He is. I have so little doubt about Marvin Harrison, man. Can that
So do
guy?
I.
Do you have faith in his quarterback though?
Yeah. I
do?
not as my quarterback, but as a fantasy quarterback, I think he's going to get the ball out. I mean, he's put numbers up with a lot worse receivers, I think, than Harrison. Can he stay on the field consistently? That could be a bummer, because he has had some pretty rough consistency. But he can throw. He runs around a lot. He's not the kind of the solid, consistent guy you're hoping for. But I don't know, man. I'd love to be the number 1 target.
Yeah, be cool to watch
for him.
So after the 53-man roster last week, we got our practice squad together, and Chad is ecstatic about it.
Yeah, you know how much I love the practice squad guys.
Yeah, practice squad.
I will say though, we wrote a list of like guys that we did want, and my number 1 was Michael Woods, and he's on there, and couldn't have been happier about that. Some of the rookies that we thought could slide on there ended up on there, and there's Sam Kamara made it on. There's a list of guys who we thought like could have made the Browns roster many years in a row. Justin Hardy's another one. Jawan Briggs. Like there's a handful of guys who you're thinking like these guys make a lot of Browns teams, and now they're, on our practice squad, just a sign of like how much deeper the Browns are. Jalen Darden, who people love, is on there. Your safety, Chris Edmonds, is on there. And then Tony Brown too. So they were able to bring like that incredible cornerback depth that they had on. They brought Michael Woods, who I just think is stuck in a very deep room, but has the potential to do something when some of these receivers inevitably move on next season. And unfortunately, some of our guys at tight end didn't make it. But I had mentioned specifically, I read an article from Grant Cohen of the San Francisco 49ers Daily on Cameron Latu, because I thought that was an interesting scoop up the Browns were able to make. And it's kind of just one of those names to keep an eye on, because he was I think, 3rd round pick for the 49ers. And I think he's been on their squad for 1 or 2 seasons. And it's just didn't get out of a deep tight end room. And they kept some tight ends too, but their coach just talked about, his potential, his athletic potential, and his possibility of contributing if he's just a little bit of a late bloomer. So that's kind of a name who has a little bit more of an upside than some of the guys that we ended up letting go of who didn't catch on our own practice squad. So
I'm not
name to remember.
I'm not ashamed of the practice squad at all. If those guys need to be elevated, I'm not going to be too worried about it.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys, right, that you think could like come in and play. That's pretty unique, I think.
Not too many teams could actually say that. I mean,
yeah, there's that. Not only a guy that could come up and play. There's a couple of guys who have already come up and played in the NFL and have had some meaningful snaps. Like somebody like Kamara. Like Kamara has played NFL games like that. Some of the cornerbacks, like I'm not worried about having those guys around. And like we talked about, the reason they end up on your own practice squad is because now they're in your system. And so other teams are looking to keep their own familiar guys that they can keep working with. And so a lot of these guys just end up with you, fortunately, because that's where they started with, which is great.
And the fact that our receiver room is getting younger and younger, because obviously I don't think we're going to have Cooper next year.
Yeah, it's trending that way.
Maybe not. Oh, you know who else? Did we end up bringing back Jermaine Ifedi? That would be kind of a big one for us.
We did bring him back.
Yeah, tackle depth-wise, like that's another guy who you're like, we really might need guys to be able to suit up for this team, whether it's starting or as a backup at some point. So
speaking of that, did you guys see the fake roster that got released today for Sunday's game? And the second one, you see who the second person was? The left tackle?
Was it Wills?
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah,
you're already wrong. 2 people in.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I feel
like that happens all the time where like you get something released and it's not locally from Cleveland and it becomes like a just generic, like these are the names that I know. And so here's the guys.
I mean, it showed the second and third stringers. It's essentially what our roster would be if we were going in the game or week 1 with no
probably
injuries.
got pulled off of got pulled off like some depth chart on like ESPN where Jedrick Wills is there, but he's in red under like injured, and then just like copy, carry over.
Copy, paste. Yeah, and you see fans underneath say, Jed Wills is starting, what the heck, he sucks. And it's like, dude, you obviously not paying attention to any. The local news is all over it. So, I mean, if you're not paying attention to local news, then you're just great.
Pretty sure he hasn't practiced.
Yeah.
And again, the local news has just the same problem as like the national media of like dropping non-stories and passing them off as stories or dropping opinions as reporting. But when it comes to who on your team is healthy and playing and that stuff, yeah, give me the collection of like Akron Beacon Journal and Cleveland.comers and whatever over, some, Shannon Sharp or somebody like globally who's like not watching the day to day in Cleveland. But
Adam, thank you for joining. He's a guy that joined our fantasy league. Excuse me. And he said he's going to whoop on me.
He also has asked, who's going to have a bigger year in your opinion, Elijah Moore or Jerry Jeudy?
God, for me, that's such a tough one.
Yeah.
You guys know I'm so torn. I think Elijah Moore has been so underutilized in the NFL in general.
Yep.
But you have to imagine from a Browns perspective with the extension they gave Jeudy that they like believe in him and want to feature him. That doesn't do anything for Deshaun, who's open is going to be open, but that is a tough one because those two, I both think have wide receiver 2 potential. And I just think Jeudy has a little bit of big play potential that he has showcased already. And they obviously want him out there for that. But Elijah Moore on a play-to-play basis just gets open. And if they just use him like a regular receiver, I think he could slot on the outside and actually be an outside receiver. So for me, that's a tough one.
What I saw when, I hate to bring it up, but again, when Flacco came in, I think Elijah Moore was getting utilized correctly.
Yeah.
He was getting more passes. You've seen him a lot more. I think.
And of course, they've played together before Cleveland, so that was a little bit of built-in
the Jets
chemistry, of course. But I think, he's spent more time with Joe Flacco than he spent with even Deshaun Watson. So we really need to get those guys out there together working. And you just don't know. Like there's certain receivers, maybe Jeudy I've watched practices where Jeudy and Deshaun look like they have, great ability to predict where each other are going to be. Like the passes to Judy always seem kind of right in stride, and I know that doesn't mean everything, but like you just never know. Like certain receivers just connect well with certain quarterbacks, and so that's yet to be seen. We saw like a mediocre connection with Elijah Moore that I think just needed to be forced a little bit more, and we just don't know what we're going to see with Judy yet. But that's a great question. That's one of my biggest like curiosities of the season is obviously Cooper. We know what Cooper can do. We know what Cooper has been in a Cleveland Browns uniform. One of those two guys is likely to take a little bit of a leap into that 2 role.
And you know who I can't wait to see? That's Jamari Thrash.
Wills.
Shad hates
Michael
it.
can't wait to see the one guy who I'm not sure will get any reps in the first.
Actually,
month.
I read an article. No, I read an opinion article. So there are fans out there. I'm going to give you some insight. There are opinion articles and there are articles. So and there's wordings that can give you big hints to what it is. So I read an opinion article and actually thought it was a good idea that to have Thrash. I don't know if he's ever done it before. To be one of the punt/kick returners that they need.
He could be. Yeah, he's got that kind of skill
And I
set.
thought
Right?
to myself, yeah, I was like,
he knows what to do in the open field. His run after catch stuff was good, and that always to me triggers like you can run after the catch. It means you can kind of like read the field and pick your angles and break a tackle or two would be good for us. So if it gives them a chance to be out there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It's a deep room. They got 3 guys who are pretty legit veterans, and then they've got Tillman, who they've obviously are dying to get some kind of featured role from. They put him out there over a lot of other guys when he clearly wasn't ready last year. And then as much as everybody hates him, towards the end of that season last year, David Bell showed up a little, and I know that the Browns want to see what else can come of that. So I think Thrash is just buried in a deep room. He's obviously pretty talented. I just wonder when and where he'll get his opportunity is kind of yet to be seen. But he showed you everything. We talked about it in preseason. He was one of those very few guys that showed you everything you needed to see to tell you a guy from college who had these certain traits could use those as well in the NFL. Best he could.
Yeah. So on that note, hold on a second. I got some. So I did some digging. So I think if there is a game for Thrash to go off on, or even Tillman case, it would be game 1. Because if you look at the play calling from the last couple years, going back to Schwartz, right? I think Kevin kind of purposely got them in the play calling. I'll give you some numbers. Schwartz was 3 receptions for 69 yards. Now that was his best game as a Brown.
Only good.
It's only a good game.
Career. Yeah.
And DPJ, the first game he played, 6 receptions, 60 yards. He averaged 10 yards a reception. And more
was that in his first game played or his first game of his career?
First game of, I believe his first game of it played as a first game of the year. So it would be his first game played, yes. These are games that were highlighted the first game of the year that year. So Moore led the Browns in receiving last year with 3 receptions, 43 yards with a 14-yard carry. So I'm saying all that to say maybe the attention would be on the big receivers that would open up the smaller receivers, such as the role-playing receivers. It could be. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying I'm not surprised.
The only caveat to that is the Browns have been so thin at receiver for so long that a lot of these draft picks come in and immediately have to be in the top 3. And for the first time in a pretty long time,
you don't need that.
That's not. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, could Thrash do it? I kind of think we saw some stuff in preseason that backs up Mike's love for him. That maybe he could go out there and make a couple big plays. I'm just not sure. Like the year that Schwartz went out there, I feel like he was playing with Jarvis, and that was almost it. There's not even any other NFL receivers on some of these rosters. And Odell Beckham came in one season to start the year, but then his next season with the Browns, he missed the first handful of games.
Yeah.
And so, and even in that case, it was like Odell, Jarvis, and We don't really have a
Yeah.
3, so it's like these rookies have to come in and
Yeah.
immediately do something. It feels weird
Yeah.
that doesn't seem like the case anymore. But again, if he's dressed, maybe he
He
gets
might.
out there and he catches a pass or
Yeah.
two and they think, let's let it ride.
Let's see what
roll.
happens.
So we'll
I mean,
see.
maybe there's something in the play call for situational play calling. Maybe there will be something in the play call for him if the situation comes up. So
I
don't
mean, if
lose
nothing
hope.
else, that stat shows you that Kevin's like not afraid. If you made this team, you better be ready to get out there.
Yeah.
Right? He's
Yeah.
not afraid to go to you. He's not afraid to call plays, and the quarterbacks are going to have to go through their progressions, but he's not afraid for you to be involved. If you made the team, you better be ready to go.
Adam said, could Watts get back to Houston form? I'm sick of defending him to all the haters who aren't patient since he's been injured.
It's the question
Oh,
of the
Adam
year.
runs
you
a
are preaching
podcast
and
as
preaching,
well.
man, and we are with you.
Yeah, and
Question of the year, man. It has to be this year, right? Like, if it's not this year, will it be next year? Like, at some point, you got to say this is
Here's
it.
my only holdup is usually when players come off a major injury, they don't start quick. They get themselves going as the year goes on, and they get better as the season goes on. So my only thing that I would say, like, this isn't just all make or break, is because if he's able to start showing more and more as the season goes on, even if he started poorly, like if by the end of the year he's showing something, then I think you look towards the next year. But God, wouldn't it make it easier on all of us if he just came out,
And
threw for
balled
2
out.
touchdowns and no interceptions this game, and we were able to compete offensively with Dallas, and then everybody could just like, shh, it's okay.
and 0 injuries. Their 1 year would be awesome.
Would be last year, I feel like, was enough injuries to cover us most of this year.
Yeah. And
I'm
next.
just gonna hope. Yeah, it was
Adam
pretty
said
bad.
the haters are going to be ready to run them out now. Browns fans are always obsessed with wins, with the backup. Have been for years. I wouldn't say
We are kind of back friendly.
We always like, I mean, that's any football team, really. They love the backup when their starters
Oh
doing
my
bad.
gosh.
Yeah,
But I just think the Browns are like at a whole nother level of the backup.
I agree.
And from Kelly Holcomb, from all the way back to the Kelly Holcomb days, there's like and it's not just the quarterback. The quarterback's where it sticks out the most. The Browns have been so talent poor for so long that it was always about, well, get the rookie in there and let's see what he looks like, or get the backup in there. Maybe he's the right guy. And it's a little different now, I think, all over the roster. But for a long time, it was like, whoever's starting, if he's not going to the Hall of Fame, get him out of here. Who's next?
I wonder when the last time the Browns had a quarterback in the Hall of Fame was.
It's been a while.
I'm pretty sure it's probably Otto Graham, which is awful.
Long time ago. Long time ago.
I mean, nobody from this back of the jersey era. Bernie's
Yeah.
obviously not going. Brian Sipes not a Hall of Famer.
No.
I don't know the quarterbacks from the 70s and early. Well, I guess Brian Sipes would have been the early 80s. But I don't know the
70s would
quarterbacks from the
be-
70s,
Ah, shoot. Who's
late
the
60s.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Oh, man. So, since we're going to be talking about money here shortly, I wanted to ask a question. And this also goes along with the new stadium being named Huntington Bank Field. Do you think Andrew Berry's getting draft protection?
He's already used up.
Over
He
draft
snuck that
protection for
in.
Andrew Berry?
Yes, he snuck it
They
in.
already
He
used
got
our
it.
dad joke. Andrew, are you out there?
Dude, this is
Shut them
great.
down.
Chad sat back and was waiting patiently. Like, what are you going to talk about? I wonder.
He
Had to
set it up.
Had to get that one out.
Probably something useful. Nope.
No, Testaverde was not in the Hall of Fame at all.
Yeah, I'm seeing Otto Graham's the only quarterback at Hall of Fame for a Brown.
Yeah, we haven't had
Unfortunately.
any good quarterbacks. We're basically
Yeah.
the Bears.
Our grandparents weren't
Basically.
even born yet. It's been a while.
That was a good one.
So,
And we've only used about 30 picks on them in the last 20 years. So
Yeah.
how would we have found one by now?
what do you
Let's
guys
hope
want?
that this one sticks.
What do you guys want to go with next? There's 2 topics left.
Well, we just finished Deshaun, so let's go on to his stupid money.
Yeah.
We talked about how much we really need him to step up and look like Deshaun again this year. By the way, on a related note, who was it? Shannon Sharp said that he thinks if Deshaun can be 70 or what is it, 85 to 90% of what he was in his career
Yeah.
in Texas, the Browns are going straight to the Super Bowl.
I would agree.
Hallelujah. Please.
He said the AFC
him
Championship.
be Even 80%. Oh, yeah, against
Yeah.
the Chiefs, right?
I was going to say 75 to 80%. I'll take.
Yeah, give me 75 to 85%, and I'm going to be like, let's go. But Deshaun did get all of his money converted pretty much into a signing bonus, and spread out one extra year. They can always move it one extra year into the future in a dead cap year each time they do this. So there's one more year added on to his salary, and it added $35 million in cap space. It was a big story throughout last week. I don't think the Browns are going to use it. I think they're going to tag it on with the rest of that like 60-ish million, because I think they're like 66 million in the red next year. And if you slide that over along with the cap jump for next year, all of a sudden you go from in the red to having some money to spend, and it will allow them to just continue to tinker with this roster.
What people don't take into consideration is, me and Angel were talking about it before you came on, is, yeah, we got $35 million extra dollars, but that money is going to roll into next year. We got first round draft picks next year. Yeah, it might roll. I mean, obviously we haven't used it yet. I don't think we're going to, but the money does roll over. We got some first round draft picks next year. Let's utilize those in a way where we don't have to spend a ton of money, I guess, and maybe get out of that draft debt or the cap debt, if you will.
And it opens up, like I said, we all think it's going to roll over to next year, but if you have to make a trade midseason, or if you get a chance to make a trade midseason with somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, this is a great deal, let's take this guy, and you need money available on your roster, then you have some, and now you can like figure out what to do in the offseason to get that corrected again. But like in case of emergency, you've got more. It's better to have the room here to roll over than to not have it and just figure it out next year. So there wasn't really any downside to this, except for they have to pay one more year into the future, which only bothers people because it's Deshaun and they want everything related to Deshaun to be gone as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But you were paying the same no matter what over 5 years. If you pay the same amount of money and you extend it to 6, 7, 8, like, doesn't matter. The cap's going to keep going up and it will become less and less of a percentage. But it just bothers people because they're like, now we're going to be paying for this bum until 2029. And it's like, okay,
who cares?
You're paying the same amount for him. It doesn't really matter when you pay it. You're going to pay the same amount for him. It's guaranteed money.
Yep.
He's going to get it all.
Basically, it gives you more. It gives you more flexibility now, right? So if you, like you said, if you want to trade for somebody, if you want to bring someone in, you still have money. As opposed to if you didn't do it, you didn't have a ceiling. You had a ceiling. Now your ceiling's a little higher.
It's just if you want to use the exaggerated take, if you want to buy, a car and it's $20,000, and somebody says you can pay that $20,000 now, or in 20 years, $20,000 in 20 years is going to be a lot less money. So if there's not interest, you just push it and you're like, yeah, that's hopefully inflation means that $20,000 is a lot less. They're just inflation pushing it, and they're making it a lower percentage of their cap.
And seriously, for all the haters, I am going to quote Deshaun Watson probably 2 months ago. He said he's going to block out all the bullshit this year and win a Super Bowl. That's his goal. He came here. Obviously, money was a part of it, but this is the team you're a part of. And all these people hate him. And like Adam said, watch Watson win the AFC Championship. The haters will be silent for a minute. And that's exactly what's going to happen. All these people are going to shut up.
People will come out of the woodworks with dumber and dumber comments.
Yeah.
Because some of them are already dumb, but they'll come out. At least some of the stuff is, some of the stuff is legit. If they're like, oh, he's only played 6 games last year. Like, yeah, he got hurt. Not great. Or if he's like, oh, he hasn't been, good. He's not what they paid for. No, he's not. He hasn't been.
Yeah.
But my only pushback is this 5-year deal. If you're trying to make judgments on it after 1 or 2 seasons, like, you're just setting yourself up for us to make fun of you later if it works out. And if it doesn't, we're all going to be upset about it. So there's no point in pushing the narrative right now.
Mm-hmm.
not only that, get over all the massage jokes. It's been almost
Yeah.
3 years. Like, just let it go.
God, so
You know,
old.
it's like
Jesus
yeah.
God. On Twitter, it's like, oh,
every-
Deshaun Watson is to sit out with a sore shoulder. Oh, he needs a massage. I just
like
thought of
a-
that.
it's like a third grade fart joke, you know, third grade fart.
Oh,
yeah,
look
I
at
mean,
that.
it's
Chad
yeah.
told a joke on the show.
I'll always bad jokes.
Yeah,
It's the
I
worst.
agree.
I'm just like, come on,
No,
dude.
I
It's
agree.
the oldest thing. Like it's used, and it's like usually a random fan from like a rival team, and they're like, this will be really clever, and it's like, yeah, we've never heard that before.
Right.
Awesome joke.
And listen, no matter what you guys say, do, or want, Deshaun Watson will be your quarterback. This contract is more than likely going to get played out the whole way, and we're going to pay the guy. You can't take guaranteed money away unless the dude goes and gets another massage, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah, he's got to get arrested or something awful, which I very much doubt will
Yeah.
happen at this point. For you to recoup any of that money, it's not going to happen. Injuries aren't going to cover it. There is no outs.
You just got to win, baby. Win,
Yep.
baby.
So
Win.
it would be great if Browns fans just decided, I'm just going to hope he wins and stop like boo-hooing about the fact that I don't like him, because whether you like him or not, it's like there's a ton of people that don't like him, but like he's part of my team, so I'm rooting for the Browns to win. So best case scenario, he cleans up his act. He's a better person for the rest of his life. He wins us some games, and then we can finally, have some good Sundays here like we had last year.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is the locker room. And when they signed him and restructured his contract, you saw on Twitter the excitement from, David specifically, because he's more active on social, like how excited they were when they knew they locked him in. So, not that they weren't going to lock him in, but the locker room loves him. If you hate him, but he's your quarterback. In order for us to win, he needs to be good. So let's cheer for him.
Yeah, and even if you do hate him, like, it's fair. Your own opinion. You've got your opinion for whatever reason, but it's not helping anybody for you to, like, be mopey and emo about it on social media every single time he comes up in a post. Just, I don't know how you don't have a miserable life if you're just sitting around on X, like, waiting for each Deshaun post to be like, I hate him, get him out of here. Like, that is how you're spending your day. Like, Jesus, my God, how do you even survive on Sundays? The guy throws a complete pass and you must just want to like run into a wall.
You had a good game, so I'm going to be quiet.
So Sam
Until
made up a
next
game
game.
for Sunday for you guys. Every time Dak says, "Here we go," for his hike cadence, take a drink. Hopefully our defense keeps him off the field because he's got work on Monday. He can't stand that guy's cadence.
Yeah. So what do we got going into this game? Obviously, the big story is left tackle, right?
Yeah.
It's looking like. I think it's looking like Jack Conklin. Obviously, there's a note on the. Yeah, there's a note on the doc of the draft we were using about, is it a lock? And it's like, well, he's practicing there. So there is a chance Hudson comes back and is ready to play, and you've watched him practice for 2 weeks and went, dude, he can't play on the left.
Yeah, he can't
Then
play at all.
You put in Hudson, but you better hope he can play on the left because we've seen Hudson do it, and it's not good.
Not good.
That guy is just missing elements that you really need to be a good
lineman, football player,
especially a left tackle. We said there's different features between left and right tackles. It's why so many guys come out of college playing the left. They flip to the other side. They're a better run blocker, or they're not great against speed rushers, which are often on the right side of the defense. And I just don't think Hudson has that. I'd never count anybody out from being able to improve, but he's not new. He's been playing a while and he's gotten a lot of starting snaps, and it's just not his thing. Longer term, I could see him being a backup in a different spot for this team. But he played last year. They survived. So I can't imagine Jack can't go out there and at least hold it down. And there's a chance the Browns could scheme to help him out.
Yeah. Like we all said, in college, Conklin played left tackle. We said last week it's like riding a bike, right?
Maybe.
No, I know it's not, especially playing right tackle
A
for
little
10
more
years.
probably like riding a bike down a mountain.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, they can give him
But,
help with the tight end over
yeah.
there. Maybe scheme people don't know what scheming means. Like get a tight end to help be a running back and help. I don't know, send an
Which I
extra.
saw in some of Cameron Justice's, I think it was Cameron Justice. She posts a lot of Browns practice rep film on Twitter, on X. If you're not following her, you have to follow her. She constantly gets, like, I put together an entire reel of all Deshaun's throws that we are allowed to watch today, or here's a bunch of like reps that Conklin took, and in that practice footage, there's a couple reps of Njoku lined up on the left side, coming in and putting a hit on the edge rusher before going out on his route or moving on to the linebacker level, safety level, and that's not going to be crazy. I also think it's all about pass blocking. Jack Conklin's going to be able, depending on how that leg feels, he's not, if anybody out there is going to just put out the, like, he's an all-pro, he'll be fine. Like, he's not going to have his best game over there or the first game of this season, coming off this pretty tragic knee injury where he finally said that it was his MCL, ACL, PCL, and meniscus, which is one more ligament than we all talked about in the recovery show. Apparently his PCL was also involved, which I don't think we knew about, but big injury. It's a year later, but big injury. And he's 29. He hasn't played left for 8 years or whatever. And you're just like we said with Deshaun, his best game is probably not going to be this first one back. But you brought Deshaun in partially because he's a quarterback who can negotiate a pocket, who can move around, and who can help your linemen with a pass rush. And so they just have to scheme the right plays, get the ball out of his hands, have him moving towards the right, chip with the tight end. Like, there's a ton of stuff they can do if Conklin can just play mediocre left tackle, where they should be okay.
Speaking of help, Ward is working with a concussion specialist.
Yeah, I only put this in there. It's kind of become old news now. The good news is he looks like he's back to practice full go. He's wearing a new kind of helmet. He is set to play for the game and with no restrictions now. It kind of made it through the whole concussion recovery. And we had so many fans outbursting about how he needs to retire after this concussion. And I said, kind of just even from a healthcare professional perspective, like, it's not really up to us. I'm worried about him. I want him to be better. I also want my team to be good, and I really like him. I'd like to keep watching him play. That's kind of a tear. But selfishly, I'd love him to be out there. Unselfishly, as a medical professional, yeah, I'm worried about concussions. We know what the long-term implications of them are. But to all the fans out there, like, it's really none of our business. Like, we can't tell the guy to retire. The Browns can't tell him to retire. I brought up the example, like, are you going to tell somebody after, like, an injury or disability, like, you're fired, you can no longer work for us, but I can do the job? And you're like, well, but there's something wrong with you now, so you can't work here anymore. Like, there's the player union issues, there's work labor issues, there's all sorts of reasons, like medically, legally, that we can't just tell this guy he has to retire. And so I thought it was worth mentioning. He sees a concussion specific specialist. It's a physician, annoyingly, out of, I believe, Pittsburgh, who, like, has just been working with him on, like, concussions, how serious his concussions are, what the implications of them are for his career currently and long term, how to quickly recover from them. So, like, it's not like the guy's just playing 1980s football, shoving a bunch of pain pills and going out there, with a major injury. He's getting much better care than the Twitter mafia can ever get him. I promise you guys. He's gonna be doing, like, what he feels, and his family and he even mentioned, I think, like, me and my family, like, go and see this guy together, so we all, like, know the big picture. But well, let's all worry about him, let's all wish him the best, but probably not our spot to try to force him to retire.
I agree. Do
Nope.
you think this is one guy in the field that should be wearing a Guardian cap, though? I mean,
Well, he was wearing a Guardian cap during practice when he supposedly re-injured or got another concussion. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop him. The concussion really comes from your brain hitting your skull, not your head hitting anything. Probably they wouldn't be using those if they didn't have some evidence that they can lower the impact and slow it down. But, sure, he just has to be better and get his darn head out of the way. But a lot of them can even come like a whiplash injury. Your head doesn't even have to hit something. You can just swing the head forward, and your brain, with the force of the change of direction, will hit the skull.
that's why when I went to that concert, I didn't do any headbanging.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, man. I've definitely gotten myself a little bit of stars just from head swings, but I don't know. Like I said, it stinks that we're dealing with so many. I wish people knew how many everybody else was dealing with before the concussion protocol gave you a count. Because back in the day, they would just, how many fingers am I holding up? And if you came within one, they'd just slap your helmet back on and pat you on the butt. Out you went. He's fine.
All right, guys, we got
You wouldn't know that anyway.
We got 3 minutes left. Will the run game look different? Is there going to be more shotgun lined up right behind the center? What's going to happen? What do you think?
yes.
Yes, I like that answer. Chad?
Well, because I mean,
Gonna be
you look,
Ford.
you kind of look at Buffalo. You had the run game wasn't a lot when dude was there. So
Singletary.
I mean, we'll see. I like Ford. He had a good year. I think we're all agreement that I think his year last year was underrated because people are just used to Batman being back there. But I think we're good. I think we'll be good. It depends on.
Hopefully Jones has
that
improved
tackle.
in run blocking because that was
Yeah.
the big weakness on the right side last year.
Yeah.
The line is mostly out there. They're not in the places we wanted them, but we got a
They're
lot
there.
of good linemen out there. We should be able to run the ball. And it's, Micah Parsons is real good, but you just run it away from him and you take him out of the game.
I do know that Deshaun Watson loves shotgun, so that's probably going to be a particular part of this season is lining up in
And
shotgun
Dorsey has
formation.
designed offenses where they run out of shotgun.
Yeah.
That's not a shocker. I don't think Dorsey ran enough in Buffalo, but they lined up in shotgun plenty, and they know how to run pass. They know how to do RPOs. They know how to hand off out of it. I'm fully convinced that somebody like Ford and even Foreman will be able to succeed out there. But yeah,
Even if
the run will
it's
look different, we should still be trying to run.
or the run game may be a 2-yard pass. They might substitute the run game for like a 2-yard shovel pass, a short pass. I mean, it's going to look different, but I don't think I'm hoping they don't totally go away from it.
What if we're going to see a lot of wide receiver screens?
Yeah, you know what I was also say too. Besides, I know I hate them. And actually, I watched. I listened to a story. Maybe it was Warren Sharp, who's really, really big on the statistics, who said that throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage is one of the least successful plays in all of football over the last 5 years. And it's believable because every so often somebody breaks one, and the rest of the time it's a trash play where you lose 2 yards. But you remember that one that got broken, and people do it a lot. I don't know. I don't think we're fooling anybody.
No.
But I will say, when it comes to the passing game, I already said it once, Deshaun needs to navigate around Parsons. And they do have one very good cornerback out there for Dallas, but the rest of their secondary does not blow me away, and their linebackers in coverage are not going to be able to cover David Njoku and whoever we put out there at slot receiver, whether it's Judy or whoever slides out there. So
you know what? David
I
Njoku's
think the
going to have
Browns
another
can have a
breakout
pretty
year.
balanced attack in this game.
I think we're gonna beat them. We could save the rest for Saturday's show. I don't know if you'd be able to join us Saturday, but me and Angel are going to do a pregame show Saturday. The game's 4:25. I'm going down there probably around.
Yeah, I thought you guys aren't doing this Sunday. I thought you were doing it Sunday. You're doing Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to the game, so I'm going to be leaving here around noon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this is the 1 week where I could probably pull off Sunday because the game's not until 1 o'clock
later.
here, and it's usually 10 a.m. and I can't do a show before that.
No, you're good. We'll take care of that. We're just going to try to do a
Yeah,
quick.
message me Saturday.
I will do that because I think we go to live at like 10 last time, 10 in the morning.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
yeah,
10 to 11.
That's like 7 a.m. for you, Chad. You haven't even had coffee yet. I'm not even awake.
Yeah.
Hey, you, that cornerback from Dallas, you talking about Darren Bland?
I was talking about Diggs.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Diggs. You're right. But Bland's hurt, so it helps us there.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So
I forgot Diggs.
they're
Diggs
shy and they're shy at cornerback. And by the way, before we close it out, as much as we've talked about like getting guys back from injury, and I think it could be a rocky, rusty start because everybody hasn't been playing together, and there is a question on the left side of the line. Although at least we have a professional out there to play that spot, and he's playing next to Joel Bitonio and Ethan Pocic and Wyatt Teller, and
good.
everybody loves Dewan on the right. Like, we're going into this game
Stacked.
fairly good, and everybody that's on our list is questionable, like Njoku, and you'll get more into this probably on Saturday, but I think those guys are all going to play, and Dallas is missing just a couple pieces, and Cleveland has a shot to win this game as well as anybody this week. So it would be a huge week to come out with a week 1 win.
They're 2.5 points favorites
Yeah.
right now in Vegas.
Which isn't great because at home
Yeah.
you pretty much
You
get a
get
3-point
three.
bump.
Yeah.
So they're a slight underdog except for their home. Every Browns fan that's going, hey, light them up so they can't even think.
Yes. Sam said Browns 27, Dallas 17. On a side note, DeJuan Jones, a.k.a. Big Thanos, is still T.J. Watt's daddy. Did you guys see the new meme going around
I
with him
saw
and his
that.
wife and said the dog was up on the stairs and said, look, there's DeJuan Jones. His daddy's up on the stairs. Oh,
saw
come
that.
on. That was a good meme. I like that one. But yeah, me and
I
Angel
love those Browns fans.
me and Angel will be here Saturday, probably around 10 in the morning,
Yeah.
Eastern time.
I'll be sleeping.
Chad will be sleeping. We're gonna be blowing his phone up though. That's
We will
Do it
not
every
pull up
morning.
your phone.
yeah.
There are
Somehow
times
I
we
wake
do
up at
forget.
6:30 a.m. on a Saturday. I'll throw this setup together and get into it.
I doubt it, but hopefully.
But yeah, we will see you guys Saturday. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, all the good stuff. And check our sponsors out. CB Excavating, call Chris for all your needs, and the Doug White Allstate Insurance Agency. You're in good hands.